Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Good morning, students. Let me take you another video here. Chapter 16. This is transport model, that is cost structures, competition, and pricing principles. Now, doing this, we just need to understand. We have seen that the emphasis in business logistics, that is on cheapest and fastest transport, on reducing inventories, but rather on achieving an integrated and coordinated systems approach to the logistic process. So the acceptance of the total cost logistic concept has led firstly to logistic cost trade-offs between the various transport services provided, and secondly to the operations at the facilities that can assume great or greater importance, that is the cost trade-offs, as we have seen in chapter 2. So here this chapter itself concerns with the aspects of efficiency in the supply of transport function within business, logistic practices, and the cost structure of each mode of transport. Now here, efficiency in transport. Before this, I would just explain to you there could be some areas which are more important for learning outcomes, that is, explain the efficiency in transport means, or discuss how economy can be achieved in transport, or describe the cost structure of each mode of transport, or discuss intramodal competition, each mode of transport, and intermodal competition between the different modes of transport, and outline profit planning, control, crucial operations, tactical and strategical management levels. Finally, discussing the financial integrity of professional transport carriers and how that can be supported by making use of total cost, marginal cost, or value of service, that is pricing tactics. But here in efficiency in transport, as I just told you, transport is not demanded in its own right. It is means to an end. That means, namely moving goods. That is, at the basis of any analysis of demand for transport is the fact that demand is a function of other activities, that is, freight or any escapable cost in the supply function of consigners or consignees. That is, efficiency has a direct on the competitiveness of a business, that is objective to operate at the scale or size where maximum economy is enjoyed. Economy is the optimum use of resource so that maximum benefit is gained from any given input of resource. So here this is very clearly explained even in your textbooks. I don't need to go on economics efficiency of scale on page number 376. An expanded level of output results in reduction in the total cost of transport per kilometer. Ton kilometer, remember that. 3. Transport management strategies that contribute is increasing fleet size, increasing or maximizing utilization of capacity, increasing vehicle size and maximizing utilization of capacity, then intensifying use of indivisible facility and infrastructure whenever these are owned. So these are some of the very important strategic contributions when we talk about scale of economics, that is contributing to the spreading of fixed costs over extended output. Then talking about this, I can even tell you that the kind of economic efficiency is the optimum use of resources so that maximum returns or benefit is gained from any given set of resources. This concept of economics of scale is closely linked to that increasing returns to scale, that is, exists when expansion of outputs exists to a firm. Fleet or a plant causes total production cost to increase less than proportionately with the increasing output capacity and increasing returns and so forth. So here the normal view of economics of scale is that the larger the production of a capacity of a firm, size of firm, then it is going to be that large cost of per ton kilometer. However, contributions have different kind of interest in this. You can just check on that particular specializations, as I just told you, contribution like specialization and division of labor, specialization and scheduling of capital assets, indivisibilities, that is costly operational expenditure, reduced transactional costs. This could be another fact, that dividing fixed costs and overheads, which we are talking about here, that the contributions has its own effect on economics of scale or the fleet size that is concerned for any kind of economics. Now, moving on, we will just try to see all the other areas of the modal transport and diseconomics of fleets size, that is contributors, loss of management control, administrative creep, and geographical locations. Diseconomics of fleets, that is again talking about how the loss of management control, particularly with regards to how the management does not have, or as a fleet becomes bigger and more complex, a loss of management control over the entire organization arises. Problems of coordination increases and the growth of bureaucracy distracts managers' focus from the production process, that is, communication lines become longer, with management finding it increasingly difficult to remain directly involved. This loss of management control decreases overall productivity. Now, administrative creep, that is a management, as management grows, it generates administration. Not only do managers do more, and the introduction of extra management tiers or create more bureaucracy in the form of more non-core control process, but the human resource aspects of the greater number of managers where they need to be administered. So what happens is, instead of managing transport production, increasingly it is the organization itself which has to be managed. So this administrative creep, what we are talking about, and location or geographical location is when a fleet initially commences business, it will be probably at a close to the optimum location. As a fleet activities increases, its growing markets. Then illustration of economic, you can just go to this and understand proportion increase in transport cost, distance covered, and this is given with the how approximity which lines up to the total areas of diseconomics of scale, transport modal structures in other areas, proportional scales in the total cost of how this particular diseconomics of scale. Now, even in this contribution, the total number of transport cost, fixed cost, variable transport cost, and distance per period on the total amount. That is how economics, density, scope, and distance is covered for our subgroups. Now, in this way, what happens is, the subgroups of economics is dependent on attainment of one or more of three groups or subgroups, of economics, that is economics of density, economics of scope, and economics of distance. The economics of density also is existing when the total cost to transport units of a freight from their point of departure to the intended destination decreases by increasing utilization of existing vehicle fleet and infrastructure capacity within a market area of a given size. So this is how the density happens. And if you see the economics of scope are achieved when the cost of producing two or more products together in either a joint or a common process is less than the total cost of producing them separately. That is, the joint products called by byproducts are the inevitable and inseparable consequences of a single production process. For an example, an outbound journey automatically gives you or gives rise to an inbound one. That is how it is. Then economics of distance is also known as long haul economics, long haul, HAUL. These are attained when the total transport cost per ton kilometer decreases as the trip distance decreases. Economics of distances arises when there are trip specific distance costs that are not affected by the distance of the journey, and also by cost item that or the cost item that increase less than proportionally to an increase of distance. Example of the former are terminal costs such as aircraft landing fees or seaport charges, train marshalling cost, trip documentation, and so on. So moving on, economics of density. Economics of density is this when total cost of transport, as you can check it here, that is a distance, units of freight from point of departure to intended destination decreases by increasing use of existing vehicle fleet and infrastructure capacity within a market area of a given size. This is very important as far as a particular density is concerned. So now you can understand the economics of distance also and how this takes care of different areas of loading, showing on the particular areas of economics, that is on number of full vehicle load or kilometers or 10 trips, 4 trips, and so forth. Now moving on, economics of density here, it also talks about enhanced by using high capacity technologies to carry and handle large bulk loads, minimizing loading, unloading. Third one, utilizing traffic consolidation, load trip road consolidation. Fourth one, maximizing immediate and continuous utilization of vehicles. So this all you can understand it. I don't need to explain much on this. The economics of scale achieve when the cost of producing two or more products together is a a common process is less than a total cost of producing them separately. So here economics of scope for joint products or common products, you can understand achieving economics that is again on scope requires compatible technology that can accommodate product diversification. In this, how a product gets a different manifesto for how it is being uptaken on a particular way of process on a production. And similarly, the economics of distance, that is otherwise known as long haul, as I just told you in the last slide, our attainment of total transport cost per ton kilometer decreases as the trip distance increases, or arises when there are trip specified fixed costs that are not affected by the distance of the journey and also by cost items that increase less than proportionately to an increase by distance. Now, moving on here, if you see, we can understand more on the other areas of how overloads and other cost structures are taken care of. Here, as I told you, the cost factors which has different areas of, whereas total cost to supply a transport service can divide into fixed and variable costs. The relation between the fixed and variable component of total cost is referred to as a cost structure of supply. Example, fixed cost as a proportional or as a proportion of total cost. Now if you see this illustration, you can check this out even in your textbooks also, which talks about fixed cost and average cost per unit, and the cost which is AFC if you see. And then if you can understand more clearly what is a fixed cost and a variable cost, I will try to just give you an idea. Fixed costs are those financial obligations that ensure that the power of disposal over fixed inputs such as vehicles and other durable assets, example loading, handling equipment needed to supply transport services, are obtained and retained. These costs are incurred periodically, meaning that they are financial expenditures or provisions made at regular time intervals to provide durable assets that have necessary capacity for production. Now, moving to what is a particular fixed vehicle cost, fall into two categories. That is, one hand, there are cost allocations on monetary expenditure, procurement of vehicles, provision of depreciation, interest and capital and lease payments and so on. But I don't want to get into the details of those. So just in your particular syllabus also, the cost structure is not so important, but still you can understand the concept that is very important. Cost structures for a transport modes: air, road, rail, pipe, that is very, and sea, that is what we are more interested in for a particular supply chain or logistics of what we are talking about. So air transport cost structure, that is characterized by fairly balanced proportions of a fixed and a variable cost with freight only services, that is balanced cost structure. Road, the ratio of fixed cost or total cost is low and the lowest of all modes. Rail, the ratio of fixed cost to total cost is high. Pipe, the ratio of fixed cost to total cost is high, the highest to all modes. And sea, balanced cost structure. I have explained to you what is fixed cost and variable cost. You can just check it. The variable cost in regards to this transportal modes of air, road, rail, pipe and sea in your textbooks. I think it is page number 384-85. Then moving on, these are some of the important typical cost structures or different size of road freight vehicle based on a particular province in South Africa. So this will make you an idea of how types of vehicles carrying those particular values have it on. Cost of mode transport, similarly the graph shows you the idea. Competition within modes of transports, now general air rail. This is not much. Standing vehicles, variable cost on cost levels, that is related to cost structure, distance, howl of diversity, then so and so forth. You can study that pipe and see. This is not much I can explain. Profit planning and control also with regards to the similar ones. This is important, but please note it down. You can make a planning for control of operation, tactical and strategic management levels, cost and appropriation of apportion to transport because of actual and perceived cost. This is important. So strategic aspects, a carrier must have a sound profit policy. Traffic quoting, you can read this. That's all for this chapter, gentlemen. I would like to say this is I have finished this chapter, and I think as per the syllabus we have finished chapter 16 as per week 11 and 12. I will be back with another video very soon. Thank you, gentlemen. Take care. Have a nice day. Stay safe. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.